Hello and welcome back to another episode of Hello Sunday. Welcome back, guys. Welcome back. It's been a hot minute. I think I've said that about 10 times this year. But yeah, I appreciate that I have had quite the break this time. Completely unintentional, but I am going to tell you what's happened and where I've been and why it has been such a long break. Unplanned, as always. And I know I said at the start of this year that there would be probably weeks that I couldn't record or wouldn't be able to record, edit and upload in time, or there might be times where I just wasn't here, so it wasn't in my own space, so I wouldn't be able to. And that has happened on quite a few occasions, but yeah, this time was a bit of an extended break due to a couple of things happening. So first of all, I hope you're all good. I hope you have all had a lovely spring. We are moving into summer now in the UK, which is very, very exciting. We've had a gorgeous May. I think I read it was like the driest for 60 years or something crazy. So beautiful weather, which has really helped with everybody's mood and just really created the nicest kind of atmosphere and experiences, I think, so far in spring in the UK. But it's, as I'm looking out the window now, it's a bit grey. We've just got back from a dog walk, actually. We've sold our house, so we will be moving at the end of summer. And just to get ourselves and the dog acquainted, I didn't want to move to a new village and have completely new everything all at once. I felt like it would be maybe a bit too much of a shock to the system, a bit of a culture shock for Marley. So I thought if we can just, it's only a 10-15 minute drive away. Just thought if we can start sort of doing dog walks and getting to sort of be familiar with the area, then hopefully when we move, at least that will be something that he knows and enjoys, and then it will just be like the house and the street that is new to him. But yeah, we've just got back from a really nice long dog walk, which was very sunny and very warm, but it is a little bit cloudy now here, so I'm hoping that the rest of, I don't know when spring finishes actually, I think it must be like June time. Hoping it stays gorgeous and sunny. But anyway, enough about that. Where have I been? Also, by the way, this is the second time that I've recorded this week. I recorded it earlier in the week and then I actually decided that, I don't know, I just felt a bit rambly. I felt like there was things that I spoke about that I didn't need to, like I covered too many topics, not about me or where I've been, but more there was too much going on and it just didn't flow, it didn't land. And also Marley, bless him, he's having a snooze after his walk now, but he, on the last recording, was like all over the laptop. He kept like getting up and sitting down and you could just hear a lot in the background. So as much as it is like, raw and real, I just thought if I wouldn't want to listen to it, then why should I put it out there for you lot to listen to? So, what's been happening? About, I'm going to say 6 or 7 weeks ago now, my husband's back went. So he had been having a real niggle in his back for a few weeks. He'd been overdoing it at the gym, I think, lifting heavy weights, not warming up properly. Long story short, it didn't end well for him. So he'd been having a bit of a niggle. And then one Saturday morning, he just picked up the dog and put him on the bed and his back went into like spasm, we later found out. So it just ended up the whole day, like he couldn't sit down, he couldn't lie down, he was like shouting out in pain. It was horrible. So the only thing that we could think, he called 111 and they gave him like 2 options basically. You either try and treat it yourself and just use like heat and ice and stuff, or you go to A&E. There wasn't really a lot that they could do. And then we remembered that he's got Bupa through work, so he did a like a GP appointment with a Bupa doctor, and they prescribed him some strong painkillers and some strong anti-inflammatories, but it wasn't enough to, well, first of all, it was a few hours before we could get them, and second of all, it wasn't enough to stop the muscle spasm. So I had to acquire some black market diazepam, which I then got banned off Instagram for the day for asking for. But one of my friend's mums had the same problem a few months ago, and she'd ended up going to hospital. They'd given us some diazepams. Anyway, he had one of those, and it worked, albeit we did end up catching him on the dog camera fainting when it kicked in. He fainted and fell over in the kitchen, and then when he came round, he texted me because I'd gone out to do the food shop. And he's like, I think I've just fainted. And anyway, when I came back later on that night, we were like, oh my gosh, we could actually look on the dog camera. Yeah, it was pretty traumatic. So that happened. And then the next weekend, it was bank holiday. And on the Monday, he ended up getting ambulance to hospital because the same issue had then arisen, but it was pressing on nerves. So he was having a horrendous nerve pain, like burning sensations down his leg. He was screaming in agony. In the end, I just had to call a paramedic. And it was really traumatic because actually not only was it horrible seeing him like that, but because our dog at the minute we're trying to train to be left on his own, if it was going to be an hour, I could have probably just left him. But knowing like how long it was going to be in the hospital, I couldn't leave him. So I reached out to see if anybody could have him, and there was nobody available. We ended up getting our dog sitter's boyfriend on the evening just so that I could go and see Dean for a bit to have Marley. But yeah, it was really difficult. So anyway, long story short, it ended up being 2 weeks that I didn't record because we were just trying to muddle through with him not being able to do a lot with the dog and not being able to like drive and work and stuff. So that was that. And then just as that started easing up, my mum called me and said, your nan's really not well. As any of you know that have been following this podcast and listening from the start, she's 97 in August, and she's been super poorly for the last couple of years, in and out of hospital. So I didn't go straight down because we've done that before where I've rushed down and then it's been like she's come out of hospital and bounced back. And we've got a bit of a running joke in our friendship group that like my nan's got more lives than a cat, and her and the cockroaches would be the only things left after a nuclear apocalypse because she's just absolute like nails. But anyway, my mum called and said she's in hospital, and then a few days later she called and said it's not looking good this time. So I went down with Marley, and we were down there for about 10 days, and I worked from there, and then in the afternoons I'd go to the hospital, in the evenings, and they'd have the dog. Anyway, after 10 days, she moved into a nursing home, and my parents sort of said, look, we love you, we want you here, but we can't deal with the dog anymore. Like he's very energetic, and he was picking things up, and he wasn't the sort of dog that I could leave with them and that they could just like keep an eye on. They had to be like really vigilant. So I was like, that's fair enough. Like I'm going to go back with him. That was on the Tuesday, and I spent the afternoon with my nan. She'd been moved to a nursing home at this point, so I sat with her, talked about, well, I say talked, she was not conscious, but I was talking at her about all the memories and how wonderful she was, and just had like the last sort of conversation that I'd have with her. And then on Thursday night at 11:30, I got a call to say she had passed away. She was surrounded by family. She was peaceful. They'd got her on high dose painkillers, so she wasn't in pain anymore. And yeah, she went. So I mean, it's really funny because obviously she was very old, and first we were all kind of relieved in the sense that there was no constant stress and worry anymore on my mum. There was no, I don't know why I just said mum. I'd never say that. Mom is how we say it in the Midlands. But yeah, the constant stress and worry immediately obviously lifted, and she was no longer in pain. But I think as the days have gone on, the reality set in, and I am really missing her and really, I wouldn't say struggling. I don't feel like I'm struggling, but I am having moments. Like I went to a shop at the weekend and there was a jigsaw in there, and I thought, oh, Nan would love that. And then for a split second, I forgot, like, she's not here anymore. And just things like that, you wake up in the morning and you forget, and then the reality hits you, like it stabs you. And it's just very strange. I've never had a close family member pass. I've had two very close friends but I've never had a family member pass, and she was part of my everyday habits. She was part of my mum was her carer, so she was, a big part of my mum's life. She was like a second mother to me growing up. So there was a lot around that, there's a lot to navigate through, I guess. So that happened just over a week ago now. So I just haven't been in the right headspace. And I think, well, for 10 days I wasn't even here. I wasn't even able to record. And then not being in the right headspace, I want to bring reality and, my full self to this podcast, but I never want it to be anything but good energy, good vibes, and the kind of the genuine honesty. But I don't want it to be a Debbie Downer. I think I don't want you guys to listen and to feel bummed out afterwards, So yeah, it's been a lot, but I'm okay, and we can't have the funeral until towards the end of the month. So we're still in that sort of weird limbo phase where she's still kind of here because we haven't said bye, and because we also haven't finished, organising stuff and picking all the songs and writing the readings and all that sort of stuff. So it's a bit strange. I fully expect that things will change after the funeral and we'll all feel very differently, but that's where I've been. And do you know what? It was so interesting because I think life really does get reflected back to you, and so many things land and resonate when you are going through something tough like that, when you are faced with something that is so much bigger than the everyday stuff that we deal with, the struggle over the cost of living and work and arguing with your partner and, kids and stuff. It's so much bigger than the everyday stuff, and it just really makes you contemplate what's important. And so what I wanted to talk about today is actually something that I've been thinking about a lot lately, and something that has come up several different times recently in the books that I've read, mainly with the book club that I'm in, the Law of Attraction book club. But also, it's just something I've been thinking about generally this year because of how much, the health challenges that we've had in my family and how much things have been put into perspective. And that is, like, what does success look like to you? What are the things that make you feel successful? Because I know growing up that I always just thought, like a lot of people, I guess, that you have a good education and then you get a good job and then you get married and have kids, and that is, the successful, in America they say American dream, I guess, but it's just the kind of the linear version of success that we're all brought up with. And actually that can be influenced by a lot of things. It can be influenced by your community, your family, your religion, if you're part of a religion, your social circle, and a lot of the time now, in modern times, by social media. But actually, success to me might be very different than what success to you looks like, or success to the person next door, or even like your peers at work. And the one big thing that I'm always really conscious of and always trying to reevaluate and revisit and think about is like my why and why I'm doing things. And actually, is it because it looks good and it's an ego thing and it's a vanity thing? Or is it actually because it feels good from the inside and because that is what makes me happy? And for instance, I really, really came face to face with this when I got the call about, this isn't looking good for your nan and things are probably going to take a turn this time, and, you could really do being here. Because whilst I've not felt this year like I've done particularly well in business and things have been more of a struggle the last probably 18 months, 2 years, for those of you that are regular listeners to the show, or maybe you know me personally, you won't have been able to get away without hearing me talk about Simprove. Simprove is a scientifically backed water-based probiotic drink. You drink it daily and it has been scientifically proven to help with things like bloating, IBS symptoms, pain. It was actually a dietitian friend of mine that introduced it to me last year, and I honestly wouldn't be without it now. It's helped with my energy, with my bloating, it's helped with my immune system, and also things like my skin. The list is honestly endless. Now, I have got a code for you. So if you'd like to try Simprove, you can get 50%, that's a massive 50% off your first 3 month subscription by going on to simprove.com and putting in the code Nikki50. That's NIKKI50, or clicking the link in the show notes. The flexibility that I had to allow me to just be able to pick everything up and go and stay with my parents, to me, was like success. That was something that I valued so much more than being in like a high-flying corporate role where I wouldn't be able to do that. Success to me was being able to support my family during that time and still work. I've got friends that are currently building businesses and they're doing an absolutely incredible job, and you know, the first-hand experience that I get of the difficulty and the challenge that they have in doing that, it's hard, it's really, really tough, and they never stop thinking about it, and it consumes them and they love it. And to them, success will be when they have built a business that can, you know, function without them, and that they don't have to be there to work within and to run, and they can still make money. And don't get me wrong, that is, I think, you know, a definition of success for anyone. You know, if you can say that you've done that, then you've definitely made a success of your life. However, what is that coming at the detriment of? And personally, for me, my success wouldn't be building a business like that. I've got absolutely zero interest in building a business at the moment. Anyway, who knows what will change in the future with loads of people in it, because of the headache and the stress that it comes with. And I've seen what you have to give up and what you have to sacrifice to do that. I follow a business on LinkedIn called Perfect Head. Really, really ambitious, incredibly hardworking, tenacious, 2 brothers and one of the brothers' wives. It's 3 founders, and they are, hats off to them. Like, they've smashed it. I think the business revenue is about 40 million now. They've done it in like 3 years. They've built a team. There is not one part of me that is jealous of that journey. I can absolutely see that for them, that is huge success. And to anybody else, you know, you can say that they are successful in their own right. But there is no part of me that wants to do that, because I see what they've had to sacrifice and what they've had to do, and how they say sometimes they're in the office till 2 a.m. and, you know, they never get to switch off and have holidays and just forget about it all. And also, I think because it's with family, it's probably tougher, because even at like family meals and occasions, the people that you work with are there, you know. So yeah, to me, that isn't something that I would want to do, that I would class as success for me, but I can see how it is successful. And so I've been really, really reflecting on this lately and trying to understand. And I think selling our house as well was a big one, because we had to decide what we really wanted and what we would feel happy with, and what our definition of success was for the next move, in terms of, you know, being able to stay there for the foreseeable. And I think for us, it was definitely a house that worked better for us, in that there was space for us both to have an office, space for people to come and stay, because I've mentioned before, but we currently don't have a guest bedroom because we've had to convert both of our guest bedrooms into offices. It would be more open, more sociable. We could, you know, open the back doors into the back garden, have the kids and the dog, you know, the family kids and the dog out playing. It was in a community, a neighbourhood where we could get to know people. And actually, more important for me than anything, it was by nature. Like, I am so big into like my nature walks, as is my husband, but since we've got a dog, like even more so. So it had to tick those boxes, and for us to move and feel like we'd made a success of the move, it had to tick those boxes. Now, some people might listen to that and think, absolutely not. I want, a penthouse apartment in the city, or I don't know, I want a hut in the middle of the forest with nobody around. That to them might be success. It might be happiness. It might be what they crave. The other things for me, really, that come with examining what success looks like for me personally, it's around being able to support my friends and family. Like, I'm not on about building a big business that can pay off everybody's mortgage. But when my brother and my sister-in-law got her diagnosis at the start of this year, well, end of last year, but we found out it was stage 4 at the start of this year, and realised that she wouldn't be able to work and that she would need time off without sick pay. I wanted nothing more than to be able to say, here's 20 or 30 grand, just, take it and live on it for the next few months. Unfortunately, I couldn't do that because we weren't in the position to, but to me, success would have looked like that. That is what I'm aiming for. I want to be able to help the people in my life. I want to be able to support them and give to them without having to think about it, because it would be, so detrimental to our own futures. Success to me is being able to be there when the family calls. It's being able to pack things up and go and work from anywhere. It's being able to be there in the moments that they need me, and enjoy things with the people that I love. Like, for instance, my husband's won an incentive at work, and it's to go to Heston Blumenthal's restaurant, the Fat Duck, down south. And because we live so far away, it would be basically 2 days off, because we'd have to travel down one day, go to the restaurant, stay overnight, and then it's come back the next day. And that wouldn't have been something that I would really easily been able to do if I was employed, because I wouldn't just be able to pick my days off. You used to have to give notice. You used to have to make sure you didn't have any meetings or nobody else was off. It's, to me, being successful is having the opportunity to have that flexibility and to be able to do that. It's being able to be there if my nephews, as they grow up, have sports days or football games or band, gigs and stuff, and not have to think about asking somebody to do that or to worry about the money to travel to it. It's about showing up for me and being able to have the flexibility. And so for somebody else, it might be being the CEO of a big FTSE 500 company, or it might be being a farmer. You might feel that you have absolutely made it in life if you have your own farm and you're up at 4 every morning cleaning out the pigs or whatever. And that to me isn't success in my life, because it's not what I've craved. But there's little things that I would rather have than some of the things that other people might class as success. So, like I say, could I say that somebody who was a CEO of a big business was not successful? Absolutely not, career-wise. But I also think that my definition of success would be being able to eat with my family every night, being there for the weekends, being able to switch off. And are the chances that they wouldn't be able to do that? Yeah, absolutely, because that job normally demands everything. But that might not be the case for them. They might find that having all the career success is how they define success for them. Family or their social circle might not be as important. And it's so different for everybody. And I think what I've really realised recently is, one person's definition of success is not another's, and your version of what makes you happy and what you're aiming for can be so different from even what you wanted a year ago, 2 years ago, 5 years ago. So it's good to always reevaluate that and look at it. When I set up my business, I wanted to, I had certain revenue number targets, and I wanted to build it. I wanted to hire people, and things have changed so much in the last couple of years for me personally that actually that to me wouldn't be my definition of success anymore. My definition of success now would be having enough money to bring home to, contribute towards the bills each month, save to go on nice holidays and to have, a bit of a safety net, And as I mentioned before, doing the things for the people in my life that I want to be able to do, taking my family on holidays, giving them money if they need it, supporting them, being able to, chip in for things, take my parents for nice meals, but also to be there, to have the flexibility for time. And that wasn't my definition of success 5 years ago. 5 years ago, I wanted to be the absolute top of my career in a corporate environment. So even if it changes tomorrow, compared to what you want today, that's fine. But just make sure that whatever you're aiming for is your definition of success and not what somebody else is telling you that you should do or be. And it's not social media's version. And it's not the person next door's version. It's not your best mate's version or your parents' version. That it's your version. Because what's important to you won't be the same as what's important to me. I can absolutely guarantee that. And I think what this year so far has taught me is that, you just need to live for you, and you need to live for what makes you happy. You really do. So, yeah, sorry it wasn't a bit more of an upbeat episode today. It's, a bit of a weird time, but we'll get there. And I'm hoping to be with you a little bit more frequently from now on. I can't promise it will be absolutely every week, but it definitely will be more frequently. I'm hoping not to take such a big break again anytime soon. As always, especially now because we've had such a big break, the algorithm has just completely forgotten about us. So if you could do me an absolute solid, please follow the show. Just press the little plus button, whatever platform you listen on. And then if you can share it with somebody, even just one person that doesn't listen, rate and review, all of those things go such a long way to helping and to getting us back on the radar, because the algorithm likes consistency, and your girl ain't been consistent this year, unfortunately, but that is life, isn't it? Such is life. So enjoy your week, and I will see you again next episode.